And welcome everybody to Co-op Guild. Got lots of.
Oh my god!
Barrett, that's perfect.
Oh my god.
Nice, Barrett. Nice.
I wasn't expecting that. Oh gosh, good morning everyone.
Good morning. Welcome to Co-op Chat. This is our live chat. We talk about various board game topics and get crazy apparently. So
Okay. I swear to God, this is only my second day.
there you go.
Oh my god. Okay.
Too much fun.
It'll be a very interesting hour.
It's gonna be one of the streams. So welcome everybody. Oh, we need a lightsaber. Yeah.
Oh, should I go get ours?
My son's lightsaber's upstairs. I gotta grab one of them. So yeah. But yeah, may the fourth be with you, everyone. I was an idiot and set this topic without thinking about May the 4th day. So we will probably talk about Star Wars anyway today. So see lots of friends here. Hey Greg, hey Jan, nice to see you here. Hey Avis, how's that going? Chris, welcome. Let's see. I think that's what I see on here. Cool. Lots of friends this morning. Just a heads up that if you are a supporter of Co-op Guild and you want to talk with us live, you can jump on our Discord channel. And there's a stage there you can join. There's instructions and everything. But then you can actually, if you want to speak through the microphone with us, you're able to do that. With that setup. And you can... Drew's very excited. We can talk about the Dungeon Crawl stuff. Or anything else you guys have in mind, so we're kind of open because we don't stay on topic very well on this show.
I don't even know if we're gonna get on topic today.
Nope. That's a losing battle.
Oh my god! Best laid plans.
Best
you
laid
try
plans,
so
exactly.
hard, and then you invite us.
Okay, that hurts. That's a little bit small for my head.
But yes, welcome everybody. We're going to be starting the topic with Dungeon Crawl stuff. So I thought that might be kind of fun chat, and then we'll probably switch to Star Wars stuff because we kind of have to. It's kind of required. So. Okay, so let's talk about what we talk about Dungeon Crawls. I was thinking about this recently on how we have so many Dungeon Crawls, and I'm talking about the board game space, and think about like I miss.
Yeah. Because it belongs to our children, Barrett. That's why it's so small on your head. Thanks.
Oh.
I was kind of wondering that. I was assuming that's why it was small.
I did pull it out of my kid's toy bin, that's for sure.
Oh my god, I'm crying. Oh god, I need more sleep. Okay, sorry, Steve.
No, you're good. So yeah, yeah, the kids are the ones that get fun. Exactly.
Steve, that's amazing. Oh, good work.
Oh, my ears are off balance.
But yeah, Dungeon Crawl stuff. So I was thinking about this and how there's so many Dungeon Crawls out there, and they all kind of do similar things, but they all have some differences to them too. And I feel like the goal of these is try to emulate a certain experience. But due to board games being in the analog space and physical components, all that stuff, there are going to be some concessions or some things that aren't going to be implemented for various reasons. And I kind of want to talk about like different crawlers and like what's missing from them, like what would make it really cool, what I haven't seen those type of crawlers, what maybe some of them do really well that they could be implemented in other crawlers. So just kind of get into that one.
And also we can talk about some things that is why you're looking into a certain dungeon crawler.
Yeah, for sure. Jan's got a good one actually to start off the conversation. It says, I am missing overall a good background music for board games. Why does music work so well for video games and so poorly for board games?
Ah,
I think a really good example of that would be Ice of Fair Guard. But they're using the foreteller system. And that one, they have background music that you can play while you're playing it. And I'll mention this. It's a slight spoiler, not much of a spoiler, honestly.
that's huge.
But for the boss battles, they have boss battle music as well, which is really
Oh,
cool.
nice.
So it is, in my opinion, really well done in that system. And I like that one. And I remember even outside boss battles playing background music. We early on getting into the hobby, we played Bang the Bullet. So that's the you don't know you know who the sheriff is, but everyone has different roles, and you try and like eliminate people to try to like I don't know, you're just playing the game. It's one of those social deduction games. But it's Wild West themed, so I would play the music from The Good, the Bad, the Ugly while I would play that game. And it was so
Nice.
much fun because that's a very iconic soundtrack.
That's
That's
pretty
what
cool.
I love when I'm playing games, like having some sort of like actually, I mean, almost anything, but like some sort of background ambiance or whatever. So kind of doing like that. And it's one of the things that kind of makes me sad when I do games for recordings, because I can't obviously have like the music playing in the background. So, I mean, just speaking on that, I there was a website and I don't remember what it was now, but it would you put in like the game, like the board game that you were playing, and it would find music from like, I mean, it was like YouTube things. It was from video games, but it would kind of like there was like a curated like playlist or whatever for different games. I can't remember what the name of it was now, but now I just like go on YouTube and I find like ambient music. So I was playing Let's Go to Japan, and so I just found like ambient Japanese music or whatever. I think music is, just kind of like set that tone, but I also really like themes. So music, games, let's go.
That's good stuff. I can probably answer why video game music
Melodice,
is
yes.
so well. And that's because in theory they can have it set up where certain thresholds are met when it comes to like moving around or doing things. The music can escalate, change, get better, change, and go into different types of music, or there could be a cutscene that switches it up into a different music and thing where you don't have that in board games because it's all one thing and you kind of have to control it yourself.
Yeah, that's what Jan mentioned as
That's
well.
my guess.
Because he said Power Rangers, he can't endure the high energy music for long for that play, and then he says it doesn't adapt to what you're doing, which is interesting because I completely agree. And at one point for the streams I did, I tried putting background music in, which is hard to balance. But I actually had multiple playlists. I had one playlist for like regular play and one for exciting play, so I'd switch between them in the middle of the stream to adjust to what was going on. But that is easier said than done.
I mean,
Right?
you think about it, all of a sudden you've got like, okay, like you're like reading the story moments of like a game and you're going, okay, now we're going to go into the boss battle. And like all of a sudden you like put your miniatures on the board and you're like, okay, are you ready? Yeah. Play the music. Okay, what are you going to do? Hold on a second. I got to figure it out.
And then analysis paralysis with like the ends.
But I'm not sure if I want to move 3 because then that guy's really kind of anticlimactic music now because you're paralyzed. You got analysis paralysis over there for 15 minutes thinking of your move.
Right.
Oh God. Now I'm just like having like all the mental images of like all of us just doing that for like our streams and content in general, just like instead of editing out like all of my analysis paralysis, I'm just gonna sit there with intense music.
Sit there with the 2 cards in your hand. Do I move 3 or do I attack?
So there was a funny moment when we were playing Defenders of the Realm, and we're just sitting around playing. It was me, Kim, and then Kim's brother. So we're sitting around playing this game, and Kim, this is a fantasy, I don't know, leveling up, kind of like a little bit like Epidemic type thing. Anyway, Kim goes up, she's doing this roll against this boss, and before she rolls a dice, she goes da 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 and rolls a dice, and it's just like, where did that come from? It was amazing. I obviously still remember to this day the exact melody she sung.
Oh my gosh!
So
That's awesome.
That is amazing.
But yeah,
My
no,
my
that's
son
a good one. Music,
my
that's
son actually
really
thinks it's
really
hilarious
tough to fit well
when
into a
you do
game.
things and dice suck. He
Yeah.
thinks it's absolutely hilarious. I haven't seen him laugh so hard until I'm like, I'm totally gonna take this guy out. And they roll and I get a 1. You just see him going, ah! He falls over on his chair laughing at me. You're not gonna do anything.
Yeah. Yep. I'll jump in on something I think is missing is NPC interaction.
Yeah.
I feel like that is just forgotten in a majority of dungeon crawls. Like normally it's just melded into just a narration you read, but there's no like choices on what you're doing. It's just here's what's happening. Um, I will say Iridia is changing that up. Iridia does an excellent job with NPC interaction. Because what happens in that game, you have one person who's looks, and it's funny because if they read the card and the card tells you like their personality of the NPC interacting with, so you, and then it gives you list of choices based upon what the other person says. So they literally have an open book that they can say whatever they want to as the other person acts as the NPC, and they have set responses based upon what they do, and it's funny because I remember one of the characters got some sass to them, and it was really fun to read those comments back as you're interacting with it. It was really well done. So I think that one, Iridia, it's not out yet, but it's hopefully going to deliver next year. We'll see. Is that does it really really well.
So Anne said earlier in chat, I'm missing from crawlers more actual impact to skills and characters from the story. I want more than intro, outro text. And that is probably exactly what is missing for me as well, because I love the narrative story or whatever. And like, I'm playing through like buttons and buttons right now, but I want, yeah, I want more of that story and like feel like it matters outside of, yeah, I just kick some butt. But yeah, I wanted a little bit more of, and then that just intro, outro text sets. I mean, for this one, obviously small, but I'm 100% on that team.
Go buy Agmonia.
Agamemnon.
Hey, that's exactly what it does.
Yeah, it does a good job with that.
Yeah.
It does a fantastic job with it. There's parts all over the board that as you go over to them, you'll draw a card and have to interact with that card and has a story about what's going on in that moment. Like maybe you go to the area and it's like, oh, hey, there's a rat behind the bar. Do you want to rescue the rat? You need to roll skill checks if you can get it. Okay, cool, you got it. Okay, great. Hold on to this card. Something's going to happen to you at the end. Oh, neat.
Okay.
And then so as you're playing it, then like later you find someone and be like, hey, do you have card 73 or something? Yes, I do. And that person go and then be like, oh, thanks for finding my rat. You're because you'll flip over to card D and that person's there going like, hey, you meet this person. Do you have card 73? Yes, I do. Okay, flip the card. You flip the card and it's like, oh, thank you so much for finding the rat. You get like a bonus experience point. Yay!
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So it's kind of like that.
That's
That one does it.
Well, also, we have to remember though, we're not allowed to tell me to buy games until after my husband goes to work.
Oh, I mean, you should rent Agmonia. The other one is, believe it's not out yet, but and I'm going to praise it up and down because it basically has everything I'd ever want in a dungeon crawler, and that's Rogue Angel. Rogue Angels also does that because as you get to certain parts, you'll usually, for what we've played so far, a lot of the game is like, hey, you got about 4 turns to do this thing, and once you do this thing, it activates something that is in the storybook, and then once then you make some choices in that, which then brings out another new thing you have to deal with. And then it's usually about 3 or 4 turns of that before something else happens. Then 3 or 4 turns of that before something else happens. Then finally get to the end and you're like, okay, now you won. Here's the ending of what you did. Like you still get that whole conclusion text and things like that going into like a rest period and then coming back into another beginning of a story. But you do have those moments in between. That's not just like Sword and Sorcery. Well, Sword and Sorcery kind of does it too with its Book of Secrets when you get to certain spots. But to Steve's point with the NPCs, yeah, it's kind of, I mean, the thing is, dungeon crawlers try to emulate 2 different things at the same time, and it's hard to do both and emulate them both and make it really good. They try to emulate kind of the video game kind of dungeon crawly type experience and also make it a role-playing game type experience. And it's hard to do that because in role-playing games, you usually have that person that sits there and is able to not only is kind of the referee. They're called many things, game masters, dungeon masters, something like this, right? And they're kind of the ones that are the AI that would normally be in the dungeon crawler. They're the AI, and apparently it's my Star Wars birthday somewhere. I don't know what that was.
I don't know
But
that was either.
It did that to me, like a couple weeks ago too.
It's because I talk too much. So eventually, when I talk too much, it just rains confetti and it tells me, okay, you got to be quiet. But you get so then that person like then is like, and I want to do this. Okay, well then they have to decide, can you do this in the confines of what I am considering the rules of the game? Where in role play and board games, it usually has a set structure of how things are supposed to go. So when it comes to NPCs, I open the door, kick it open. There's like 5 goblins in the room. All right, put goblin on square A, B, L, and D. Okay, goblin on square A, B, L, and D. Pull card 64. There's your goblins. Boom, you put them out. Let's fight them. In Dungeons and Dragons, you kick open the door. There are 5 goblins, and they scream, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And then you go, "Well, we're looking for the Toad Master." "Oh, we don't know the Toad Master." Like all of a sudden, you get this personal interaction. Like you can have an interaction with these guys instead of just like, "Oh, there's the goblins." And then like, "Oh, when you beat the goblins up, you find a note on the floor about the Toad Master." Like in the board game, that would kind of be how they would facilitate that kind of NPC interaction.
I won't call it out because I think I agree with Jan on this point too. One thing you don't think is missing is good AIs. I think there's some really good dungeon crawlers with great AIs. I think the two that stand out to me are Madara and Sword and Sorcery. They both have excellent AI systems.
That system has come a long way in dungeon crawls. I mean, I remember when it was like okay, you do this, and then they move 2 and attack, 2 and attack,
Yep.
2 and attack. And then was sometimes even like, okay, and they'll roll the dice, try to hit you, you roll the dice, hit you, and all of a sudden you got into this whiff fest for a while. That was always my favorite. And then they started going to they do damage automatically, and then all you have to do is roll to see if you defend it. That works in some games. Some games it's kind of like, really? So it all depends on the game.
Yep, for sure.
And then sometimes you get too advanced, Steve. Sometimes you get too advanced, and then you get a AI slog called Imperial Assault. Star Wars.
Oh, tied it in. Yeah, that one. Okay, let's talk about Imperial Assault real quick because we have to. That AI drove me nuts. I'm not gonna lie, because it was like move, shoot, and then run away. It was just constantly like, yeah. I agree with you, Chewie. I agree with you. Don't make the Wookiee angry. But yeah, so that that AI drove me nuts on that one. I did actually like the action economy I thought was quite good in Imperial Assault. So that I enjoyed and the leveling was cool. I think the solo co-op was just missed the boat though.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Just the whole idea of like the stormtrooper is going to advance 4. If 92 different things, then this one. If not 92 different things, then that. Then reposition 6.
Yeah.
And then
the strains
crumple on floor.
Agreed. Yeah, and the strains are awesome in that one for sure. Van Meeple says the key is unpredictability. I think how to generate this effectively, efficiently, but not disturbing the actual gameplay. I don't know if I always agree. I think it depends what experience you're looking for, because I've seen dungeon crawls work really well when you know what they're gonna do, the AI is gonna do, and you can like plan out your turn to like, okay, I know this guy's going next. He's gonna do 3 damage. How can I avoid that 3 damage or be out of his range of attack? Right. So it's not unpredictable in that nature. Yeah. So there's different ways to approach it, I guess. I think you need some level of randomness, so in a lot of these games to make it interesting, exciting. Not always, but if you have a deterministic system, not a dungeon crawl per se, but Rambo will call out. That was a very deterministic game, and that one didn't work for me. So,
and I think you're going to
variability. Exactly, Jan. That's a good one. Good
yeah, a lot of these are going to have difference. I mean, Jen, you've been playing Gloomhaven Buttons and Beetles or something.
Yeah, those are bugs.
Buttons and Beetles.
Beetles are bugs. I mean, close enough.
And you're dealing with the Gloomhaven system, which is a whole system in itself.
Yeah.
Is that one? Now that's still the same thing where you draw an AI card, or is it roll a dice now? And it is. It's roll a die, isn't it, for their thing?
And so there's like a board thing. So depending upon what the die lands on will be then what they do on
Okay.
their turn. So you pick yours first, obviously, like you would in regular Gloomhaven, but uh, so I mean, we kind of like this. So depending upon what the die lands on will be what they do on their turn, depending upon their card. If I can find one, probably not as easily as I would like, and I would spend the next 20 minutes looking. But so
Dun, dun, dun,
that'll
dun,
depend
dun,
on what
dun,
their
dun,
initiative
dun,
is, what
on
they're
the
going to
card.
do.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh God, no! It's too much stress for me to
Music, can't
handle.
find the card.
But yeah, so you're rolling the die, and then from then, like after you pick your 2 cards, and then that will determine the initiative, and then also what moves they're going to do. So you can always see what the possibilities of their moves are. So there's only going to be the 3 on the card for each enemy, but I mean, until you roll the die, you don't know which one it's going to be or what their initiative is going to be. So it's not like flipping a card from a deck.
Okay, so they kind of they've toned down the deck concept of it. Where I think Jan said that sometimes that can get a little frustrating. It's like, okay, I got a plan, and then they shield 5 and stand there. Really?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
stand there? That's gonna just. Why is that a waste of a turn? I hate you.
Yeah, for sure.
But to Steve's point, though, predictability versus unpredictability. I think if you know going into your game what you're getting into, it will help. It helps a lot.
Yeah.
Like for example, we've talked about Sword and Sorcery Madara. We know the predictability of those. Like that's the kind of the whole puzzle of the game is to figure out how to deal with these monsters, having them do as little to you as possible. Okay, so if I'm 2 squares from the gremlin, is that it?
So like depending upon what the dice roll is. So this is going to be all their moves, the only moves they're going to have for like the entire round.
Okay.
So you always know what it is, and you always know like for this one, their initiative's either going to be 6, 19, or 46.
Gotcha.
So you'll kind of plan, and then you can also see like they only ever have those 3 options that they could do on their turn, and it's all going to depend upon the one dice roll.
Sure.
So it's just enough unpredictability, but you could still plan ahead enough.
Okay. So, I mean, I think Gloomhaven kind of has that weird middle ground.
Yeah, a bit.
Close to rolling a die and figuring out what they're like. They're going to move. Let's see how far they move.
Here's
Zelda.
One thing that drives me nuts in dungeon crawls, and they all do it to some extent, is defeat all enemies.
Yeah.
Just by normal combat means. Because when I do RPGs, I like it when there's alternatives. Like, oh, yeah, I can fight these guys in a room, but I can shoot the chandelier from the ceiling and then knock them all out, or something like that, or something else, or interesting terrain. Like, interact with the environment in unique ways to find a solution to the problem. And I feel like we're just so set on the combat, hand-to-hand combat, gun combat, whatever it is, to take out guys for the experience in.
Yep.
I don't think I've seen that in the board game space yet.
Play Eggmonia and Rogue Angels.
I have.
I mean, that again are the 2 that do it. There is a moment in Eggmonia where you can move to a square and it'll say like flip over card J. And I'm going to tell you this because it's in the very first scenario, the prelude. And as you flip it over, it's like, oh, there's a chandelier. Surprise, surprise, just like you're talking about.
Yep.
You can use that chandelier to increase your movement speed to certain areas of the board. It's like, oh, that's super cool because that's in that one spot. I can do that, which is kind of neat. You can interact with that object.
Yeah, those help a bit for sure. Yeah,
And I
Jan's getting
think
another
you're
one too,
gonna
like
find-
capture that enemy,
Yeah, capture
or
the enemy
bribe them,
good.
right, or do something else, right? So it's hard. It's hard to implement those two. Didn't Malia do that type of stuff?
Who?
Remember Malia? I think we played this one, Baron. Malia, the one with everything plus the kitchen sink. You could like, it was a stealth game. It had like these puzzles in it.
Yeah.
It was,
And they tried to implement absolutely everything in the humanly possible into a game.
yeah, I think that one might be somewhat along that lines.
Vague memory, Steve.
Yeah. Interactive environment items, yeah, for sure. But even then, the interactive environment is still based upon combat as opposed to like an alternative solution. So
unless you start playing the old school dungeon crawlers, they call them. We're talking something like League of Dungeoneers. or things of that nature, when you can like be fighting and you can look at a bookcase, and as you're fighting you can look at the bookcase and you can find, as you're looking through the bookcase, you can maybe find the book of Jank. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. And that book like gives you a little bit of like backstory on the place you're at, and or else then you go look at a barrel and it's like, oh, you roll a die, oh, you found a healing potion inside the barrel, well, sweet. Or else you find like a skull, it's like, oh, I found a skull, that's not going to help me.
Sure.
So they have like all this, but of course now you're looking at, that's the overcomplication of dungeon crawls, because and it's very old school concept. It's like the closest they're tried to emulate to being a role-playing game, because you can basically do anything or everything you want to in the game to an extent, and there's rules for it, as you saw by the 100-page rule book for League of Dungeoneers. That was a monster in itself. I've kind of felt like I was in Harry Potter and the books kind of coming at me.
Yeah.
But yes, as Family Meeples says, Alter Quest was another. Actually, Alter Quest did a very good job of using the environments, because they only gave you kind of usually about one set piece in the room.
Yeah.
It kind of really gave you. It really kind of shrunk that whole League of Dungeoneers system. And there's a couple other games like that, like Hero Quest is another one. And there's two other ones that I can't remember, but I'm sure somebody can help me out in the chat, that were kind of like the big ones that came out. There was like a big three at one point. And then they're kind of doing the type of thing that Hero Quest did. But he's saying Alter Quest has that furniture thing, which is really cool.
Dungeon Universalis.
Yep, that's one of them. And there was one more, and they all had the word, I think, dungeon in them. Surprise. But yeah, they had this cool like set system. So you'd have like usually, and it was all, it's a Sadler system. So you've got like 42 different cards that decks that you're dealing with, right?
Right.
And even the furniture has its own deck, that each furniture had its own thing it could do in the room and things like that.
Tanares? Is that the other one? No.
Oh, it's by Groovistic Games or something, and Groovy Games or something.
It's not ringing a bell for me.
Yeah, of course it's not. I would not expect you to have played any of these. They definitely aren't stealthy, and they're really complex.
I think for me, like when I got into the hobby, I don't think I really, because I mean, I got in the hobby pretty much, by myself, hence playing solo. And I'm not too sure I really fully understood what a dungeon crawler was. And I think I thought it was going to be more of like a RPG. So I think that is literally what is missing for me in dungeon crawlers, was that my expectations of what it was going to be didn't quite align with the reality. So, but we keep talking about like all of these RPG elements, and so I'm kind of wondering, maybe that's part of it, is that we want something that's, kind of like a mix between the two, and that maybe that is this, and plus music is like the sweet spot. I'm wondering. I mean, I think that maybe that would be like the sweet spot for me, maybe plus music.
Yeah, Yogi Bear's got a good comment too about the interactive objects for Imperial Assault. That was in there for sure. So.
There was a lot of like, hey, you got to get to this console and do this and things like that.
Yeah.
Rogue Angels has a lot of that. Like, you have to get to this spot and then read this next section. Okay, now you've got to interact and try to break through the encryption on this computer. Things like that. Things like that, which are good. I think one of the hardest parts is if you come from a role-playing game background. Any dungeon crawler you play, it's going to have a hard time really emulating that. So you're never going to be able to go into a dungeon crawl expecting that kind of experience. I just think there's so much difference in the way that any role-playing game system is built that would be really hard to implement. I know that a lot of times they try to do that. They'll say like, oh, this is an RPG in a box or something like that. And they do a great job, and I don't mind doing that. Not only that, you can usually play them solo. That's one of the other kickers, is a lot of times, I mean, there are some solo RPG things out there you can do, but for the most part, it's usually a bunch of people sitting around playing characters and one person kind of guiding them and putting challenges in front of them, and they have to figure out ways to get through them.
Yeah, Zach from Poodcat Games has a good point here. He says, I think time is the biggest reason these things are missing from dungeon crawlers, which I can see that. Because you keep adding more and more into a play, then your play goes from an hour to 3 hours really easily, right?
100%.
Yeah, that's definitely a great point.
Which is why I think a lot of times when it comes to some of the dungeon crawlers now that are out there, it depends. They kind of gear towards certain aspects. And if those are the aspects that align with you, sweetness.
Yep, for sure.
And if those aren't, then maybe there's another one.
Family Meeple has a question that we can answer. Has anyone seen alignment come into play in dungeon crawlers? How your character would interact with the game? The only one I know of is Sword and Sorcery.
Yep, that's what I was going to say.
Because that one you can be neutral, good, or evil. It's got 3
Yep.
alignments, and that how it affects the game is each character has different powers based upon your alignment you pick, and then throughout the story you can make decisions based upon your alignment that will affect it as well. So branching narratives.
Yeah.
So.
And they did it. I mean, that was great. They did that. It really, sadly, I mean, it was awesome. They had it. It's not going to, in theory, affect really the overarching story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it will affect parts of the game.
We when we play the game, we don't play as you have to pick your alignment choice, and that it's in the book too. We just will say, hey, what choice you want to make, and then we go from there for the branches. But yeah.
So the one game that Steve has found that has this alignment that you could really live up to, he is removed from the game.
Except for the character abilities, yes. Jan's got another thing I'm missing is actual direct co-op. Sometimes we get a little way to buff others, but maneuvers with several characters.
Yes, 100%.
Is there a game that does that?
I can't think of one. Most of the time, it's your turn. When your turn is done, then somebody else's turn. And then when that person is done, it's somebody else's turn. Or when you're done, the monsters activate. Things of that nature. I can't think of too many where it's like, hey, on your turn, if Jan is next, if you two want to, you could do a team up action.
Yeah.
I don't think of too many that do that. Oh, Kingdom Death Monster. There are a few things I think you can do.
Yeah. Leviathan Wild. If Leviathan Wild is a dungeon crawl, which I don't know if it is, but yeah, that's got great co-op for sure. I agree with you there, Chris. So, hey, Marvel United. There we go. Just kidding. KDM, yep. But yeah, that's a good question. That co-op part of it. It's not a dungeon crawl.
Depending on where you are positioned when you're fighting the monster, you can actually you could hit if the monster's even attacking somebody else can jump in the middle of that action and attack and then go back and forth and things like that. But Kingdom Death isn't a dungeon crawler; it's a boss battler.
Yeah, I mean,
boss battling civ builder. That's what I call it.
The other one I can think about with the co-op as well. It's got leveling up, but it's not a dungeon crawler. Is Company of Heroes. Because that one, everyone has a certain. It's like some characters can shoot 4 spaces, but you can only see 2 spaces away, and so you get a spotter, from another team or something that can see it. Then the character that can shoot for can now shoot that target. So you've got this line of sight cooperation element that's baked into the game, which is really fun. Not to mention group attacks and all that good stuff. So that is getting to the positioning. It's not combo based, but it's positioning that Jan's mentioning. So, but like I said, it is not a dungeon crawler. So, despite leveling up and stuff,
I think a lot of the things you're seeing that are missing, sometimes just again, I think we've talked about, it comes back to over complexity.
Yeah.
Do you need these to make the game fun, or do you want a lot of times you'll hear me and even Colin and when we're doing our recordings being like, okay, now I'm going to tell you about line of sight. And in this game, line of sight's really easy. If you're just going to took the center of your square to the center of that square, if it crosses anything, you're good to go. Then you have these other games. They're like, okay, line of sight is going to be center to center, but if it crosses a green square, then you turn it 45 degrees. But if it crosses a red square, then it's blocked unless unless your guy's angled 45 degree on the square. Then he can kind of see around the red thing. And if the guy on the other side is a double base figure, then you can see over that red. It's like, okay, what? I mean, you know what I mean? So if line of sight is really important to you, then that's the game for you. Isn't that if you don't want to have such a realistic version of line of sight, then maybe this other game might be for you. You know what I mean? So does it have to be that complex?
When line of sight needs its own rulebook.
Exactly.
I have seen games like that. I have seen games like that where it's like, okay, line of sight. That's to be found on pages 16 through 24. What? 24 to see something?
The font's this large.
Yeah. It's like, okay, here's
no images.
Book.
Bear and I
Oh,
played HeroClix quite a bit in the past, and I think that line of sight system is actually pretty solid.
100%.
Yeah, that's a good one. I wish more games kind of follow that one. But
I think that was great when you and I were playing Madara, and you're like, okay, so now how do I see these guys? HeroClix rules, Steve. Okay, perfect, good.
yep, yep.
I know exactly how to see every character on the board. Yep, you do.
We got it. We're going. The other one is I think a lot of times line of sight is overcomplicated than it needed. And I bring up V Sabotage and Assassin's Creed, for example. Like those games, line of sight is just not in your space, adjacent, right? And I don't know. I feel like that simplifies it so much and makes it so you're not worried about rules. You're worried about your tactical and strategic play instead. I don't know. So that's just my opinion sometimes. Is
okay, you
Yeah,
can tell me
Matt
to buy games
Famibo's
now.
question? Is there a point where dungeon crawls become more tabletop skirmish war games? Thinking something like Lasting Tales from Blacklist games, talking about line of sight terrain impact. Yeah, and that's kind of why I brought up Company of Heroes because that's very much in that same skirmish war game approach. So
yeah, you could. I mean, yes, and the thing is that those kind of systems are built completely on that being like the structure of the game. Like, there's not
right,
a really there's lore and stuff in those kind of games, skirmish type games, especially when I'm thinking of something like Warhammer, where like you got a rule book this big just to play the game.
yep,
Um, and but it has everything you're ever going to need when it comes to particular instances in that game, because that's what's going to slow and grind things to a halt. Because in that book, I guarantee you there's not a point where it says, well, if you're just not sure, just make it up.
yeah.
Guess what? That doesn't work for people who play those type of games. Where when you're
Zach
doing
from
a co-op
Phuket Games
game,
has Red Dragon Inn does line of sight well too, which remind how's that one working? It's been a while since I played that.
oh, you count the squares from here to there.
Oh
No,
yeah,
I
that's easy.
have no idea.
Yeah.
Colin has the game right now.
Okay, it's been a while since I played that one, but
Colin
I
never
remember
wants
liking
to
that game a
talk
lot.
about line of sight ever again, ever since our oath sworn experience. When like we're
He just
playing
got the
that,
square. Boom, boom, boom,
he goes, okay, oh, this is what you can tell him about line of sight. Can you tell him how to do line of sight? Yeah, you count the squares. And he's like, what? There's so many Just count the squares.
If you don't know what we're talking about, there is Kim made a short, well not a short format, but um
Oh, quick hits or something?
a quick stop, yeah.
Quick stops.
Quick stop where she captured it in the cartoon form. Definitely watch it. It's hilarious. It's great.
Oh, that's right. She got that one, didn't she? That
She
was
got that
amazing.
one in cartoon form. Yep.
Yes. He couldn't take it. He just about fall off his chair. He's like, not the rule at all.
Yeah, so yeah, that's the other aspect that reminds me of for dungeon crawls.
Oh, yes, as Jan says, there's also rules about going around pillars and things like that. See, this is where it gets out of control.
Yeah, for sure. Uh Jan says, "What's each person's favorite dungeon crawler?"
All right, Jen.
I knew I was gonna have to go first.
Because Jen doesn't play a lot of dungeon crawlers.
Yeah, dungeon crawlers
She's
are
just
not
getting
my.
into it.
I should say dungeon crawlers are currently my choice experience. That does not mean I'm not interested in dungeon crawlers, which is why I wanted to be part of the conversation today, even though I have absolutely nothing to add. Um, to kind of see, yeah, I think it's just because like right now I am enjoying buttons and bugs, but I also think we talked about time earlier. I
Mhm.
think it's because it's also such a short experience.
Yeah.
I am not sure, even though I have Gloomhaven and Frosthaven and Jaws of the Lion, which I don't know what I was thinking because I didn't know what they were when I bought them in 2020. I don't think I want to do that for 2 to 3 hours straight.
Yes.
Like the early parts of Jaws of the Lion that I played, I enjoyed. But once it starts, and especially solo in the beginning of my board gaming experience, it was a lot. But right now, buttons and bugs, I could do like 2 or 3 like scenarios, and I'm like, okay. And I'm at a good spot where now I can go play something else. So I am definitely not probably the person to ask for my favorite dungeon crawler, but I love suggestions.
In your type of experience, I would actually there's some in the chat that have already mentioned this. Cthulhu Death May Die is a great dungeon crawler because it's a one-off experience.
Okay.
Where I'm more of the campaign person, my favorite dungeon crawlers are things like Madara that have I think it was like a 425-page storybook that came
Oh,
along.
I thought you were going to say rule book for a second. I'm like, I'm done. I'm out.
No. That's only
I'm out.
70 pages. That's only 70 pages. And I think that's one of the deterrents a lot of times when it comes to these is the fact that these rule books are usually pretty daunting. Like Sword and
Yeah.
Sorcery is a good 70 pages. Madara is 70 pages. I mean,
Yeah.
when you look at dungeon crawlers, you're going to look at about a 70-page rule book. And a lot of that has, because there's so many different aspects of the game. It's not just like point chase. I'm going to try to get as many crystal dungers as I can by the end of the game. So in order to do that, I got to build up my 5 crystal bonkers in order to get the donkers. I mean, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
which is what a lot of Euros are. So the Euros instruction book was usually like 14 pages at the most. And you're like, oh my gosh, 14 pages for this game? That's a lot. I'm like, really? I just read 100 pages to play League of Dungeoneers.
Oh
So
my God. Yeah.
I think that is a daunting challenge. But favorite dungeon crawlers, oh boy. Like I said, I really like Madara. I like what they did with that game. There's a huge space in there. Yeah, my wife really likes Cthulhu Death May Die. It's one of her favorites. Eggmoni is another one of her favorites right now. She
I
really
do want to try
enjoys
that
it.
one.
I think she likes the idea of it's an easy experience to get into and you're exploring it as you go. It's not just like Steve said, beat up all the bad guys. Okay,
Right.
read the end.
Yeah, and I think that's my other thing is like kill all monsters. I'm like, yeah, that's fun for the first 7. Like, so yeah, I'll definitely have to check it out because I definitely want a little bit more story and options. And I think at some point in Buttons and Bugs, there's a not kill all monsters.
Mhm.
I'm hoping. So well, but also it's pretty short. There's only 20 scenarios and you don't play them all. So
Right.
we'll see. Hopefully I'll get to play more this week. But yeah, Cthulhu Death May Die is probably going to be one I need to check out in
And
Agamonia,
Red Dragon Inn is also another really, really good one.
which I've been interested in. I've been wanting to pick that up, and I haven't.
That's a good one.
Yet.
I think they just have such ease of getting into. The complexity is not really there. There's not like a lot of really. It just has an overall really good experience. I think we're seeing evolutions of dungeon crawlers coming forth, and it's really interesting how they've evolved over time. We've started with games like Sword and Sorcery. What do you call it? Shadows of Brimstone, where you have more of it was a strict dungeon crawler where you are rolling to move, you're going through, you reveal the enemy cards, the enemies are on the board, you beat the enemies, you go to the next room, there's a big thing at the end you got to deal with, and you did it, yeah. Where now it's like exposing different things, and the objectives change as the game goes forward as you're going through the small just through one dungeon crawl, and some of them even have you leveling up during the dungeon crawl, which was not something you would ever see, and even close to 2 years back when it came to dungeon crawlers. So it excites me that it seems like whenever there's a new game that's come out that's kind of had a dungeon crawl experience, I have a tendency to back it a lot. No, because there's something in that game that I don't have in another game, or they've made something more enjoyable from an older game I've had.
I do have Shadows of Brimstone. Well, I have the oh god, the Vikingish one, but I painted it and I still haven't played it.
Yeah. And that game I think you'll enjoy. I
think I will too. I mean, I binged the heck out of your Brimstone before I bought it. But now I'm kind of wishing I gotten that one because that's far more up my theming up my alley. But yeah, I binged the heck out of watching those plays. So yeah, I think I'll really, really enjoy that one. But yeah, my experiences have been limited, and I think also just theme is such a big thing that matters for me. That finding a dungeon crawl that has a theme that I am even slightly interested in, that also doesn't have a 900-page rule book, or isn't too much to kind of handle like on my own, is sometimes a little hard, I think, maybe.
No, that can totally be. I mean, it took me till Shadows of Brimstones went to Forbidden Fortress. I was not interested in the original Weird West thing. Like, no, don't like that game. But feudal Japan, boom, count me in. I'm looking for Harakua Blades or Blades of Honor, I think, is coming really soon. I've got that full on. I'm like, deliver that to me, please. It's also set the same kind of feudal Japan type concept. So I'm excited to see kind of how that goes. I know Gaming Rules Paul over there did a video about a year back, kind of on like a not necessarily a prototype, but like kind of with a first mission thing that they sent him, and it was kind of neat to see. Really cool game. But yeah, Steve, what about you? What's your favorite?
If we're talking about pure dungeon crawlers, it would probably be Sword and Sorcery. I say that because I love the AI in that one, and I love how each enemy is unique. So I feel like it's a new puzzle each time. And I like how there's a one-off too. Like do the arena battle, like taking your character out of the campaign, doing a one-off in the arena battle just to have fun with your character that you've leveled up and got this cool loot. That's really cool. I wish more games would do that. But yes, Jan, I was just gonna bring this up. If Deep Rock is considered a dungeon crawl, and it might not be now, but it will be, I think, in the future. That is definitely on my list for sure. But that is more of the sit down one off as opposed to a campaign, right?
I still think it's dungeon crawl. You got your map on the board. You're exploring the map, dealing with enemies, trying to reach an objective.
Yeah, you don't really level up yet, though. With the new stuff coming, you'll be getting levels and advancing stuff. So I think that's gonna be, oh my gosh, the new stuff in that one looks really, really good. I'm very excited for that. The other one that if that would be a kind of one off leveling up one I like quite a bit is Valor and Villainy. It's because you're constantly leveling up, getting loot and stuff, and it's a one-off experience, which is cool. But
and those are all really family friendly.
Yeah.
That's the thing that helps too.
Yeah. There's a lot of really fun ones, and I don't know, there's a lot of lines get blurred on what is a dungeon crawl, right?
Yeah.
Because like the question is like, is V Sabotage a dungeon crawl? You level up, you go through a map and take out guys, you get loot.
Jen,
maybe, I don't know.
You want to get absolutely punished? Pick up Machina Arcana.
I have yet to play that.
That's a super fun game, and I love that game because it's not a go beat all the bad guys. There's actually you have to do your objectives, and actually trying to beat all the bad guys usually kills you.
Okay.
So it's a very objective based game, which is super, super cool. And there's that's one I know it's interesting because it kind of simplifies a lot of the interact with objects and things like that, but it complexes a couple other things in the game. So some of the stuff is complex for some of the stuff not complex. Machina Arcana is still one of my top 5. Yep. That one's super fun. And Jan, of course, brings up Alien Something Shiny, which is again one of my favorite family games of all time.
Is that
I mean, Alien Shiny's family?
It's just a family-friendly game.
Yeah.
Oh, come on! I got a stuffed animal with it.
Okay, I cried.
I know. Well, you cried. Come on, Never Ending Story is a family movie. You cried in that too.
Oh my god, the Never Ending Story.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a crawler either. There's I mean, that gets muddy. So that's why I was thinking, like, what's a pure crawler? I don't know.
No, it's not a dungeon crawler. It's an adventure game. Which is another thing. Like, what's an adventure game? What's a dungeon crawler? Where does this go back and forth? Like,
I tend to make the distinction if it's combat focused.
Yeah.
It tends to be a dungeon crawler for me. Although if it's not, then it's an adventure game.
Seven Citadel for Adventure is an adventure game. Things like that.
Exactly.
So,
Ralph says, the problem for me is that I do not have much space. Once I need to put it back in the box, time flies. I might need to start everything from the beginning again. Yeah. That's
huge, Steve.
That's the big barrier for me. Like, Sword and Sorcery doesn't see much play just because it's so massive and takes forever. So it's fun. I enjoy it. And any dungeon crawler for that matter just takes forever to set up. I
think that's where the evolution of the book maps are starting to help.
Yes.
Games that have books as maps. I know Rogue Angels is doing that. Rogue Angels is taking even a step farther, which makes it even so cool, is the fact that they've got the book as the map, and then the inside of the box is the ship that you can put next to the map.
What game was that? Have you talked about this before?
Yeah, it's almost about as good as Myth. You ever played that one? That one's super good too. Actually, Myth is fun. Myth is a really good game when it comes to the concept of having cards and playing them in order to do your actions. I think which sometimes isn't found very often in dungeon crawlers. Most of the time, you have your set actions, and then you're moving your guys based on those actions and rolling dice and stuff. As opposed to, in order to move, you need cards that help you move and be able to move fast and things like that. But
Chris mentioned Zombicide. That's pretty much a dungeon crawl, honestly. That I enjoyed that one too. That's not leaving my collection. It's fun. I enjoy that. I enjoy the flexibility of the system too.
I'm about to get the rest of my journeyman myth pledge this month.
Bingo.
Next month. Might be the month after that.
Wait. Then I gotta mention U-boat. There you go. Is U-boat in the crawl? There you go. No,
I think it's close. You're close enough. You're moving your guys around on a map.
Well, we gotta get the bingo card filled out for everyone, so can mention that one too. Game Ben says, "Love Deep Rock Galactic Vale and Villainy. Wife and I are playing V&V now. That's awesome. Yeah, it's a really those are great games. So, is 5-minute dungeon to be considered the fastest crawler there is?
Oh, that's funny. No, it's not a dungeon crawler. Come on.
What's the fastest dungeon crawler? Would it be Nemesis? Because they're died so quickly.
Super fast, sure.
Oh, Tiny Big Dungeons. Yeah, that's not
too
bad.
That's my wife's favorite dungeon crawler because it's tiny.
I do have that one.
It's a solid game. That's a solid.
But I heard it takes a lot of board space.
It does. Yeah.
Which is kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of.
I have a map for that. Do I have a map for that?
Dungeon Fighter? Yeah.
That's one of the hardest parts because, like, Rob and I want to play a game together some night and be like, hey, let's play Eggmonia. Okay, perfect. And it'll take me 45 minutes to set the game up. I think that's I kind of wish that sometimes I had a dedicated space for being able to keep the game that we'd like to play up. But the problem is we don't have that. And I think if you have that, that really helps getting some of these bigger dungeon crawls to the table and enjoy it all the way through.
Right.
I think it's just been a blessing that Colin's been like, hey, let's do a live stream every Tuesday and let's play campaign games. Let's play these games because we never really get a chance to finish some of these games. So it's super fun to have been able to play all of Oathsworn. And now we're playing all of this game, all of Distant Skies. I mean, it's just so much fun to be able to, it's nice to have that set schedule to be able to get through these games. Like then after that one, we're probably going to do the Kings of Ruin, which would be really fun, which I don't know if I'd ever get through it on my own because they'd have to, every time setting it up is almost a daunting enough task. You're kind of like, where Colin has also given me a tip on that. He's like, well, what you do is you set it up the night before.
Yeah.
And then next night after dinner, then you're all set to play.
Right.
I'm like, wow, that's ideal until all of a sudden mass chaos happens in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely a problem since this is like
Yep.
my only workspace too. So if I had something big set up like that and I was doing school, that doesn't quite work so well. But yeah, if you can set up like ahead of time and make that happen. I'm still fighting for a board game table for like not for here because I don't have the space for it, but for like family because I mean my family is willing to play games with me, but I also have to have the energy to set it up on our dining room table, learn it, teach it. Like, if I could set it up the day before and then cover it, or have something already set up and covered and then something to play on top, have like the topper. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying
too. I'm trying to turn a dining room table into a game table. It hasn't gone well.
Well, you also should get a gaming table. That's what family people says.
Not gonna have like
just make me one.
The game table is just gonna show up one day.
Yep.
I just kind of like all those games I kickstarted a long time ago that are now showing up. Yeah. I kickstarted a game table. Yeah, it's just gonna show up one day.
Yeah. So
what are you gonna do? Say no?
we're pretty fortunate. So I've got this game room here, and behind me is the green screen. But I've got games there and a little table here that I stream on. It's not that little, but it's. I say little because when I have all the equipment for streaming and recording, there's not a lot left over. But upstairs in the dining room, we've got a kitchen table we eat on most of the time, but we've got a dining room for like hosting. So I just use that space for games. So right now I've got Slay the Spire up there, and we're playing through that with my son right now. So
I like the idea of that. The problem with painting, and all of a sudden you get another one. Yep. That happens to me like all the time.
Sure.
Ralph said it.
Like Dan's comment here. My gaming room table sometimes has people eat in it. You just called the table the wrong thing. Yes. It's the gaming table that sometimes gets used for dining, right?
Yup. I mean, that's the other problem.
Really,
Is,
my dining room table is for the mail and my purse. Like that's about it. So
that's funny. That's what my chair is for. When I'm going to eat dinner, it's got my wife's purse on it.
Yep, yep.
That's right.
Okay. So I think we're getting close to time here. Star Wars Dungeon Crawler. We have Imperial Assault.
Yes.
Is there space for more?
Always space for more. Actually, the thing is, I've noticed that Star Wars has kind of gone just the opposite now.
Yeah.
Where it's like they're making a lot of like little, like we have they have the pandemic game. They've got they're bringing out the Mandalorian game, which I don't think is gonna be a dungeon crawler.
No.
But it's still gonna be cool. They've got Outer Rim, which isn't really a dungeon crawler. It's more of an adventure. But I think you need another. Why wouldn't you need another dungeon crawler? Now, do you want to have it like Imperial Assault, where it's a like who are these guys? Or do you want it to be I'm fighting as Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, running through the Death Star? Like, is that what you want? I think that's harder to do because we already know the outcome of that, right?
Yeah, that's
So I mean, I don't know. I think they should make it kind of like where like they've got the new shows coming out like Rebels, and they had Bad Batch and stuff like that, where like you could make spin-offs in the board game system on those type of characters. Yes.
There's space for more, exactly. But for Star Wars, my thing is so much of the media is focused on the one family, the Skywalkers, right? And like, there's more than one family in the galaxy. Come on, like the universe is really cool without having to focus on the Skywalkers. And so I would love to see more approaches along that lines where you have the different species you can be, right? And explore a lot of species, a lot of different technologies, which is interesting. Like Star Wars is interesting from a technology standpoint, where they are super advanced in some areas, but also not advanced in others. Like they use radios, basically, or they for talking on their whatever their starfighters. But they have holo projectors, right, to communicate that way too. So it's like, I don't know, it's a very, very unique space, but there's it'd be interesting. So
have you watched any of the spin-offs, Steve?
Spin-offs?
Because pretty much every spin-off has nothing to do with the Skywalkers.
Yes, I've seen a few of them. Yeah,
like Rebels, Bad Batch, all those kind of things. Like they almost really don't have to do, which is kind of cool. They don't have to do it.
Yep, Rebels was fun.
Yep,
Clone Wars I actually like a lot. To be honest,
yes,
that was really good.
Did you finish Bad Batch? I know it just came out.
I have not watched that one yet. I gotta watch
you
that
are a here. You need to return your Star Wars card. It's a good show. It's a good show. I recommend it. And again, it goes outside of the fact that, oh, hey, let's learn a little bit more about Luke. Let's learn a little more about some of the stuff. Like I think the people doing Star Wars have figured out, yeah, okay, we did their deal. Yep. Let's do other things, which is kind of cool. Like the Mandalorian. I mean, I guess Luke was in it.
Yeah.
Wait, is he?
Spoilers.
But I think that, and so yeah, making a game in that vein. I mean, I think it'd be kind of cool to make a Clone Wars game. I know they did one with the pandemic, but like a dungeon crawler like that, where you're going from world to world as the clone troopers, like you'd be Rex and Wolf and things like that, where you're going to be able to and you land on the planet and you got to do whatever it's supposed to do in order to complete your objective there to help the good guys. And if you fail, then of course the separatists have more of an advantage than you do. And when it goes into next, like, because it'd be a fail forward system. If you fail forward, if you did not destroy the radio tower, then they were able to bring in extra units in the next one that you have to try to, and it sends you to a different place. And come on, I got a whole plan. There we go.
So, yep. I think more co-ops Star Wars I would definitely love. I feel like there's a lot of competitive stuff, but very few co-op. We've got the pandemic, we got Mandalorian coming out, and we had Imperial Assault, which is kind of co-op.
My son and I have played Star Wars Unlimited every day for the last 4 days.
Yep.
Nice.
Clone Wars are making a great real-time strategy game. I agree completely, Family Meeple, for sure. That'd be amazing.
100%. Cool. Star Wars rocks.
Yep. Okay. I think that's gonna wrap it up our discussion for today. So,
Bears beats Battlestars.
what beats
That's
Battlestars?
also from The Office.
Oh,
Another one of my favorite intros next to the moving. We were talking about the moving chair and the puncturing it with the scissors before we started. That's my other favorite one is when Jim dresses up like Dwight and go back and forth. It's pretty fun.
So, Baron, what do you got coming up on your, or Chewy, what do you got coming up on your channel? Just try to make it work.
I can't make this work now. Oh, there we go.
There you go. Star Wars Rocks Galactic. Star Wars Rocks Deep Galactic? Something like that. So, what you're trying to
I
get
don't know
at?
what I got, Steve. Why do you think I know what I got coming?
It's fine.
I don't know. We're going to be doing. Oh my gosh! I think my hair is being ripped off by this thing. We've got. I don't have much hair. We're doing Primal.
Yep,
On
I saw
Tuesday.
that.
I think Colin's got some videos coming up. Oh, hey, you're gonna love this. Colin's doing Tamashi.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I gave up on trying to learn. I just haven't had the chance to learn. He's like, a lot of people tell me I might like this game. Like, yours, do it, have fun.
I know. I bought the paint for it, like, because I was gonna paint it 4 or 5 months ago. Yeah, haven't touched
are in
it.
the same boat, man.
Like, it's been right here for it's on the list. It's on the list.
It's on the list. Yeah, so he's got that. He's doing that. I know that's coming. In theory, I think that Harakiri Blades of Honor is coming soon. People are gonna love that game. You just wait a lot. You think I butcher names now? Just wait till you get that game in my hands. I'm not gonna pronounce anything right in that game. Brutal. So that's coming in theory. What else have I got coming up? Oh, Seven Citadel's next video is coming out hopefully pretty soon. But you and Collins play Imperial Assault for May 4th. No, both of us have decided we don't like that game.
Yeah,
we don't like the AI system. We did never really like the AI system.
The AI system's pretty bad in that one. Yeah,
it hurts. It hurts my soul.
Yep.
And so it takes too long. And not only that, we didn't like the idea. I mean, it's just Sword and Sorcery had the same concept where you would, which is fine, but when you're playing with 4 players, it doesn't work. Where it's like, okay, I'm gonna go. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do all this. Okay, cool. And then your turn, then your turn, then your turn. Okay, all 4 of us have gone. Okay, so now we're going to the next thing. Who would want to go first? Well, I could go first. No, actually, you're probably going to go last because of what's happening around the board. So you're going to go last. You just went first. Now you're going to go last. Now you got to wait 8 turns before you do anything. So again, archaic. The systems that have built dungeon crawlers have become better going forward, but sometimes there's some left in that need to be left in the dark. Anyway, I think that's all I've got.
Do I have you got something planned coming up?
Maybe. So this is kind of what's been going on for me is I've been moving things around. And so that's my top-down camera that's going to be mounted to that wall once I have the piece that is coming today. So hopefully we'll have videos again at some point. So there'll probably be more buttons and bugs. I'm not sure when, but coming up, I did a video, which we'll see how that is when I go to editing, because that might just become a stream instead, for the digital version of Calico that is on Steam. So I will have that video up. I have a couple things coming from Button Shy, but also I am super excited because I'm going to be doing something new, which actually kind of brought up earlier about solo RPGs. So I am going to be hopefully starting a more of a podcast style playthrough or actual play for Sundered Isles, which is Ironsworn Starforged. And so I just got the PDFs for the from the Kickstarter. So it's a solo RPG pirate game. So I'm gonna go be a pirate.
That's awesome.
I'm excited.
We need more pirate games.
But it's my first RPG. I've never done an RPG like at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really excited to. I don't know if I'm going to be a pirate yet because I haven't made my character. So hopefully today or tomorrow, since I can't do a top down right now, I am going to be doing my session 0 and create my world and my character for the first session 0
That'd be awesome.
of the podcast. Yay!
Oh, it wants me to go next, I think.
And yes, I do have Isle Cats Explore and Draw. I have not played it in a long time though, which is wild. Like all the cat things I should be playing all the time. I should do a video of that because yeah.
Let's see. I have probably a video dropping today. It is a preview video for Children of Morta, the board game. So I'm waiting for a designer to like give the green light. Look me, I like to give them a chance to review it real quick. But once that gets reviewed, will be posted. So I expect probably later today. And I have a review. I'll be dropping a review for Orange Shall Overcome. I will be recording probably tonight. I don't know when that's going to drop, either to Sunday night or Monday. And then Monday, streaming Slay the Spire. I'm going to play that one again, which I've been really enjoying. So that'll be Monday. And then Wednesday, I haven't planned what I'm going to be doing for that. But next weekend, we will not have co-op chat because I will be in visiting Minnesota with Meet Me at the Table. So it should be fun times. But yeah, I think that's all we got. Oh, it's also May. If you haven't heard, I've got a survey out there for the top cooperative games of all time, and there's a link. I think I might put it. I don't know if I put it in this video. I forget if I did or didn't. I was meaning to, but just fill out the form, and it's all we're doing is filling out your top 5 or up to 5 cooperative games, and then I'm at the end of this month, I'll be putting together a video of what comes out. So like, what is the best cooperative game of all time according to viewers like you? So.
Oh, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm wearing this shirt and I almost forgot. So tomorrow on Twitch, Tabletop After Dark is doing a fundraiser for Gamers Outreach. And it's going to be a marathon. So lots of different streamers for board games, board game adjacent. So like Jamie Daggers and Zambies or painters are going to be part of it as well. But they are raising money for Gamers Outreach. And they provide these super amazing video game carts for hospitals that they've designed specifically so that they can be sanitized. And the hospital I used to work at is one of the hospitals that have these carts. So I've seen them in action. And what I worked, if you don't know, I worked on a pediatric cancer unit for long enough. And just the amount of normalcy, at least for that bit of time that these kids can just like play video games with either the volunteers or their siblings that are visiting. When you're in a hospital for months, waiting for your treatment, going through your treatment. So if you have the time or the ability, go over to Roll TTAD on Twitter or their Facebook page, Tabletop After Dark. Check out the lineup, and if you're able to donate, you will definitely be helping supply the hospitals with more of these really awesome carts.
That's awesome. Yeah, it should drop if you get a chance, you got a link to share, I'll try to share that with people. So
yeah.
Cool.
It might be on, I don't know if it's like on their actual website. Let's see.
I can edit the description with a link, so we can do that. So cool. Well, I think it's gonna end it for today. I think the last person to have a shout out to Chewy, why don't you take us out of Bye everyone.